Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this video, we're going to go around our cities and really focus on our bus transportation in those cities. So hopefully the goal is to ease the traffic in this region by improving the bus loops in each of the cities. And we're gonna start out here in Santa Clara. Now, I want to focus on the bus loops because a lot of these cities have continued to grow outwards, as we can see here with Santa Clara, and more recently, they've begun to grow up instead of out. So now that we don't have to worry about this footprint of the city growing, what we can do is add bus stations that cover the entire city, and we won't have to worry about the city outgrowing our reach. So what we're going to do here in Santa Clara is begin placing down our bus stops. I think we're going to have 3 loops, so we're going to start with the one sort of on the bottom here, just below the train station, and then we'll have one that covers the right side of the city, and then another one that covers the left side of the city. So we'll get our bus stations placed, and we'll be back once we're ready to put vehicles on. Alright, so now we're ready to start making our loops. We're going to grab the existing line and remove all the previous stations since this one's changing, and we'll start here at the station and work our way around and do the small loop first. So we have that small loop, and I don't think we need this many buses, so we'll just come in here and get rid of a few of them just to balance it out a little bit. Alright, and next we'll buy a couple more buses so we can start our new lines. We'll get about 12 of these. That should do pretty good for the area. Maybe we'll go up to 14, but I think 12 will be good enough for now. So we'll start at the train station like we've done before, and we'll work our way around the right side of the city. So we are going to share that station just because it's on the way, and we can bring it around, try to keep the buses off of our main roads, and then connect it back up. Alright, and lastly we'll start off with 12 more buses and do this last loop here. So again, starting at the train station, we're probably going to switch that out to a bus station instead of a bus stop, but we'll do that when we're done here. But anyway, we can go up and then follow around the outside of the city to finish up this loop. So now we can come in here, delete these roads so we can get our bus station in. And I believe we should have enough space here. We just need to find the right spot. So right about here seems good. We'll just rotate that into place, and then we should be able to just delete the old bus stop, and everything should transfer over to the new station. So we see that it is there. We just have to get it into different terminals and add some passenger capacity just so we don't accidentally overload this when trains come. Alright, so that's Santa Clara done. Hopefully our buses that are currently stuck in traffic, they'll slowly start to spread themselves out. But I think we'll leave this city for now and we'll move on to the next one. So the next city we're going to take a look at here is Garden Grove. This one isn't quite as big as Santa Clara, but it's interesting as it's sort of been forced to grow in this valley here. We can see by population it's definitely smaller, but I do think it's really interesting that the mountains are sort of preventing it from growing in certain areas. But of course that means our loops are not getting everywhere in the city. We see we only have the original stations from when we first set up the line, but we haven't covered these two areas here on either side of Garden Grove. So we'll go in and place our bus stops, and we'll come back when we're ready to get the buses on the lines. Alright, so here's our bus stations. We're just going to clean up some of the ones we don't need. We don't really want any on the main roads, but as you can see, we've pretty much covered everywhere. And now we should be able to just grab one of the existing buses and edit that line. So we're going to do just 2 lines in this one because it is smaller. We don't really need a third loop. So we're going to start out by going this way and just bring it around the city, keeping it off of main roads as we've been trying to do so it doesn't get stuck in traffic and it can keep people flowing around. So we'll add a few more vehicles to this one because the loop was pretty small before. So we'll get that up to 12 vehicles, and then we can focus on the other side. So we'll also get 10 buses on this line. We'll do a little bit smaller just because there's not as many bus stops on this side. So we'll just bring that around, and that should be it for Garden Grove. Now we head over to our city of Akron. We can see here that our bus loop is a little bit bigger than before. We have gone through and upgraded this one before, but I think now we can go through and just expand on it a little bit more. Alright, so we did pretty much start from scratch. We deleted a lot of the old stations, but now we should be able to come in, remove all the existing stops, and start fresh. So we'll start at our bus station and go around this way. Akron is going to have 2 loops. I think we can get 2 to work in this city, but now we have our first loop done. We'll get a few more vehicles just because this is a little bit larger than before, and then we should be able to come to our road depot, buy some more buses, and start on our second loop. So our second loop's gonna pretty much cover the lower half of Akron. It was a little tougher to get some of these stations in here, but I think this split will work out just fine for us. So now we have the last city we're going to do here, Cedar Rapids, and this one's another smaller city, so we'll go with 2 loops here. Actually, we might go with 3 because of that little area on the right there, but let's just get rid of the existing stations because the way we're going to do it's going to just rework the whole city. But now we can come through, place our bus stops. So we are going to put some on the other side of the train tracks to make it 3 loops instead of just 2. So we'll get one to cover up there, another one over here, and then lower down, just so we cover that whole area. And now thinking about the next loop we're going to do, we're going to share that bus stop that we already have, and then come up to the top part of the city and try to put it where they make sense and where they're not going to get caught up in too much traffic. But I think this setup will work just fine. We sort of have to place some bus stops out of the way just so we can cover all the buildings, but I don't think it's going to have any huge impact on how everything functions. So now we can come through and start putting in the last loop. We're going to share that station over here. It's just going to go in the opposite direction. and then just follow the outskirts of the city, as this loop isn't going to service too big of a population, so we don't have to worry about being too efficient with our placement. But here we go. We can now grab this line and start out with our smaller loop. So we'll add these 4 stations, and we'll probably need to sell some of the vehicles here. So we'll take a look and get rid of just 1. I think 8 will be fine. If it's too much, we can always get rid of more later. But now we can come in and get 12 more buses and put them on the other 2 loops. So now we can come back and check in on Santa Clara, and we can see a lot of our buses are back out of traffic and moving around. We can see we have some people starting to wait at the station, and just taking a quick look at the city here, it doesn't seem like there's much traffic anywhere. So I think we were able to pretty much solve our traffic issues just by these 3 bus loops. We can see the entrance to the city here is no longer backed up. This highway that was completely clogged earlier is almost completely cleared up, and I think that's just due to the buses getting people to the train stations, and the trains then take them to the other cities. So thankfully that worked out, but we'll just have to go through and see what it looks like in the other cities as well. So now over here in Garden Grove, I can't really tell if we've fixed the traffic. I don't quite remember how bad it was before we got here, but this area is still pretty clogged up, and I'm not sure if it's getting better or worse. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that over the next couple of videos. But overall, it does look like our buses are moving around, which is good to see, and we have people waiting at our stops. So I think we are going to add a bus station here. We kept it as a bus stop just because there was only 2 lines meeting there, but there's clearly a lot of demand, so we're gonna delete this road, one that's not currently used by any lines in the city, and hopefully we'll be able to squeeze this stop right in. It looks like it'll just fit. So we'll place it here and make sure that our lines are on different terminals. And that'll be it for Garden Grove. Everything should function normally here again, and hopefully we'll see that traffic start to clear up between Akron. Alright, so looking at Akron, I can't really tell if traffic is better here again. Much like Garden Grove, I didn't really take a look at the traffic situation beforehand, but I don't think we had too many issues here before, and everything seems to be going just fine, as we have almost all of our buses full of passengers here. So now what we'll do is quickly look at Cedar Rapids, although I don't expect much to be changed here because we just put it in, but this intersection is definitely clearing up based on the other cities. So looking at our destinations layer, we can really see the numbers become a lot bigger on our public transportation routes, and it's a lot lower in other parts of the city. We can see here on the highway, not many people are using the highway anymore except for maybe the ones all the way out here, but that's something we might have to fix with how we're connecting with trains or maybe even buses. I'm not too sure yet. But in the Santa Clara, we can see a lot of the numbers here are pretty low, which is again good to see. We have our public transportation numbers high. The highway is getting used between Santa Clara and Garden Grove. Not too sure why, but maybe it's just because Garden Grove hasn't cleared up quite yet. As we see, the main road's pretty full there, and Akron is pretty empty. So this is exactly what we want to see with the destinations layer. We see tons of people using it, and hopefully this means we can apply this to all of our other cities across the map, and it'll all work out with our traffic in the end. Anyway, that's going to be all for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.